Hello, good afternoon, and if you are just joining our Scaleup stage today, welcome. If you have been here through the day, great that you are here. I am Andrei Degeler. I am a journalist and podcast host at TechEU, and I am going to host our next panel. And for this panel, we have brought together founders from a few startups that are just about to start gearing up towards international scaling to bring together their points of view and see what they think about how scaling up in CE is and what sort of improvements it could use. So without further ado, let me bring up our today's panelists. First up, Hedi Mardiso, the co-founder and CEO at Cache, based in Tallinn, Estonia. And we will have an intro round real soon, so let's just bring everybody else. Then we have Michał Misik, the co-founder and VP of R&D at Airly in Krakow, Poland. And we have Jacek Ratajczak, the CEO at Zonifera in Wrocław, Poland. Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining today. I'm very happy to see you all and very much looking forward to talking to you. So first up, let's have a quick intro round. Tell a little bit about yourself, tell a little bit about your company and what stage you're at the moment. Hedi, we'll start with you and go in the same order that I introduced the panelists.
Thank you. Very nice to meet you. So yes, Hedi, co-founder and CEO of InsurTech called Cache. So we are an Estonian company that is today present in 3 markets, Estonia, Latvia, and just recently launched Poland. We are a marketplace, an insurance marketplace for platform workers. So we are developing together with insurance companies different flexible insurance products that in a way cater to the new economy. And our current main product is focused on ride hailers and motor insurance.
Great, Michał.
Hello everyone. I'm Michał Misiek, and I'm one of the founders of Airly, company that tries to educate people about air quality. We try to approach the topic from different perspectives, and the biggest one is obviously from technical point of view, and we want to measure air quality and inform people what they are breathing. We want to be the biggest air quality platform in the world. To provide real air quality data to everyone on the planet. And recently we raised a round to do this.
Great. Jacek?
Hi, I'm Jacek, CEO of Zonifera. We're a prop tech, a workplace tech platform. We're creating a frictionless workplace experience. And basically we create a digital layer for buildings and offices, especially for the current hybrid environment where people work from office, from home, part-time. It's become a super relevant and super hot topic.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, what a great time to be in prop tech, isn't it?
Yeah, it is actually. I think it depends where in prop tech you are, right? So for us, it's great.
Certainly. Right. So just to sort of warm up, I wanted to ask one question, and this is something I already asked today during the fireside chat with Demir Sabol from Photomath. So for the 3 of you, to which startup ecosystem do you think you belong the most? If you have to choose between your local startup ecosystem, that's like national level, your country level startup ecosystem, and then there is the CE level ecosystem, so more like regional, and then there's the European ecosystem, and then there is the global ecosystem. So which part of which ecosystem do you think you are? Where do you belong? Jacek, starting from you, and then reverse order.
Well, I must humbly admit that so far we're not really a part of any ecosystem because we've not been very active in the startup world, particularly more with the prop tech development companies. But I think where we're going and what we're doing right now and sort of what's started happening behind the scenes, I definitely see ourselves as a soon to be a global player. So that's what we're aiming for. I don't think it makes any sense to restrict ourselves to Polish or CE ecosystem if we're doing something big.
Right. And just to sort of clarify a bit, so the question is not necessarily about your business, but also about yourself as an entrepreneur. So, like, which ecosystem do you think is helpful to you, and which ecosystem do you feel part of?
Well, myself, sorry, Michał, but because this is changing the perspective. Myself, I'm a global citizen since like a long time. So I've been living around the world, and I've actually also created a plugin foundation which connects what we call Polish innovation diaspora. So we have people involved from Singapore to San Francisco. So personally, I definitely feel connected to international ecosystem rather than just Polish.
Yeah, you are a strong contender in the most enviable chat background, video background today. So I really like what I'm seeing. Anyways, Michał, go ahead. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. Even though I said that we strive to be a global company, it's something with our company that we are evolving, and we started with our local ecosystem in Poland. Then we moved to CE, and we are present in many countries in Europe. And now we are trying to reach other countries globally. So we are present in the US, in Africa, obviously in Europe, and on many other continents. So we're trying to be a global company. We thought about this since the day one. We wanted to be the global platform, but we needed to show ourselves in each ecosystem at time and grow continuously.
Right, but what do you feel? Do you feel like anchored in your own ecosystem? Do you feel part of your own ecosystem as an entrepreneur?
Kind of. I must say that having a local ecosystem can be something that be something like an anchor. So if you're not thinking globally, you may end up in your local ecosystem. And this is something that we struggled a lot with. We started in Poland. We wanted to go global, but we didn't know how. And it somehow kept us in that local ecosystem. And we understood that we have to have different approach to go on CE market and then to move globally. There are different approaches there.
Right. Understood.
And now I feel more globally.
Right. Now, Hedy, for you, I will probably have to add another option, which is the Nordic ecosystem, which I think a lot of Estonian startups feel very close to. So what's your take?
Actually, it was a very good question. It made me think a lot, and I think you're right. Estonia is constantly in between the kind of Nordic and CE. But I think in that sense, Estonia itself has a very, very strong startup ecosystem. So if I have to define where I've grown up in is definitely there, and this kind of, I'll say, the Estonian mafia logic that we have from the graduate of quite many quite successful startups like Skype, etc. So this is probably the first, but then the question is: do I define ourselves as part of EU ecosystem or actually as a part of startup ecosystem? Because one of the amazing things, whatever country market you go, it's very easy to get connected with the startup ecosystem as such. Our focus is currently EU level, and to be honest, same kind of. Maybe the closest network besides Estonian for us is actually Techstars network, so which is global network as well. So it's very hard to just put a pin and I belong only there. So it's a probably many layered answer.
Right. Yeah, understood. Okay, so this was the warm-up round, and now let us talk about the past year, which was hard for everyone. We just discussed the prop tech part of it, but for everyone else, so what's it been like? What sort of impact have you seen by the pandemic, by the lockdowns on your company, and also what sort of impact did it have on your scaling up plans in particular? Hedy, let's start with you this time.
So yeah, providing insurance for ride-hailers, part-timers, was actually a very interesting exercise. As Cachet probably has one of the few companies in the world that has that sees the full-scale data of one country ride-hailing drivers, how they drive, because there is no loyalty. They multi-up, so Uber, Bolt, etc. same time. So it's very interesting to see when the pandemic came, our sales went really up, and then when the lockdown came, no trips. It dropped, but it right away picked up. So lots of people saw the need and necessity of having a dynamic insurance, because why on earth do you pay for full-time taxi insurance when you can't drive? So in that sense, the timing for us to come to the market and actually get leverage was very good. So we saw the benefit, but obviously lots of people, like especially our older drivers, etc., they dropped off because they were scared of COVID. And so it's kind of twofold. As a kind of business wise, scaling wise, the main kind of obstacle that we have seen, lots of large insurers had to restructure a lot, had to kind of build their digitized solution to actually cater who has been slow in doing that earlier. So in somewhat it did slow down our kind of growth. And also on the platform side, you can imagine what happened with, I don't know, Uber Eats or Bolt Food. So they were just flying, so they had to kind of make sure they are there and actually pick up the possibilities. So but on kind of all scale, I would say it has been a really good year. It hasn't been a bad year, but definitely lots of work in different directions.
Right. Michal, how about you? Did you start scaling? Did you continue scaling through the pandemic? What was the impact like?
Yeah, obviously the COVID impacted us hard, especially sales in Poland, where usually our salespeople were unable to go to local municipalities, meet mayors, and it impacted quite a lot at the beginning our sales. But eventually, it didn't harm us that much because air pollution is connected to COVID, and we got ourselves in that good position that people started to ask more about air quality in times of COVID. For example, COVID tends to travel on particulate matter, so people were more likely to ask about air pollution, and I would say, like, COVID is bad in general, but it impacted our sales in a good way. And obviously, we had to change our working environment. People started to work remotely more often. And we started even to hire more people from different countries because we understood that it's possible with remote work and providing with better tools to do this. And we also try to keep our employees' physical, emotional health and physical health at good levels. And we try to somehow bring events and integrations remotely, obviously, just to keep them in a good health state.
Right, understood. So, Jacek, you already hinted at it, but so what's going on in your corner of PropTech, and where are you actually with Zonifera in terms of scaling up?
Well, for us, it's been a seismic shift, really. I'd say that the pandemic has, there's this book, Crossing the Chasm, and it really brought us across, because the customers that we had before were the innovators, were the early adopters who would experiment with sort of digitalization of the offices. Whereas now it really became mainstream, because when companies are moving towards hybrid model and managing hot desk, hoteling desk, and parking spaces in a much more flexible way, they just can't do without technology supporting it. And here we are, with a ready product supporting sort of all of these features. But it's also been difficult, and it still is difficult, in the sense that it's been a revolution, or it is a revolution for our customers as well. So they need to adjust, they need to plan it out. And what we see huge interest. We've seen incredible boost in number of leads incoming from really incredible organizations, but sort of processing it, making the final decision and implementing, where these organizations are still in limbo and they're uncertain about when they're going to come back to the offices. They're uncertain of how they're going to manage it. So these processes are very, very long. So we have companies that were in talks since a year, and we've got this like a huge pile of leads coming up and super exciting conversations, and we're just waiting for more of them starting to close and implement. So we see it picking up already with vaccinations rolling out. Some companies becoming more and more confident about coming back to the office and trying to plan it out. But yeah, it's still a little bit of a challenge here.
Right, understood. Okay, another question that requires very quick answers, just a few words really, and then we go further. So when you think about scaling up your company, what is the main challenge that you identify for yourself? Just like real quick, Michal, starting with you this time.
Okay, so my quick answer is about different approaches that has to be taken on different markets. So you may think that each country is a global unit, but each of the country has their certain policies, specific cultures. So we have to take that into account. And I think it's the most important aspect of scaling up globally, obviously.
Right. Hedy, how about you?
I think first of all, scaling the right thing. To be sure on that one. Then obviously partners, finding the right partners on local markets. I think this is one of the key, and obviously talent. So on the second one, definitely the network. Second and the third one, the network is there. Very, very important piece in it.
Right. Okay. Can we slow down for a second? What do you mean by scaling the right thing?
Well, you need to test something before you really start to take globally. So I think the typical product market fit. So it's useless to scale something that actually hasn't proven properly. So.
Right. Okay. Jacek, how about you? What's your challenge?
I'll take it from a different angle because my metaphor is a little bit like growing up and becoming an adult. So until a point you're this cool little startup and you're allowed to do mistakes and you're allowed, not to be perfect in many ways because you're just a startup, right? But the moment you start scaling up and your business partners are starting taking you seriously, you're suddenly fully responsible, right? So there's no, they're not easy on you in terms of, I don't know, GDPR or any compliance terms or security or procedures and so on and so forth, right? You're becoming, like we're in the B2B space, so we're becoming a normal vendor and we're treated as such, not as a startup. And suddenly it turns out that there's a lot of things that, okay, you've been focusing on all the startup-y thing and move fast breaking things and making a cool product presentation and stuff. And then suddenly you realize you've got this pile of documents that you just need to prepare and you need to have them ready right now because you're closing a big contract. And that's probably the biggest challenge, the way I see it at the moment.
Yeah, I guess bureaucracy and paperwork are very strong in the prop tech domain in particular. I can imagine that. But also insurtech, isn't it, Hedy? How about what is it like for you?
Can't complain. Yeah, there is plenty of regulations and steps to do before you can roll it out. But here we can say that thanks to European Union, the single digital single market, the kind of passporting is beautiful. So that's very good.
Right. Right. What's it like for you, Michal? Do you face any sort of bureaucracy/paperwork related issues when you scale up your solution? You don't need any particular sort of you don't have any requirements in terms of what you need to certify or anything, do you?
There are obviously some requests about certification of our devices, but I wouldn't say that's something harder than on our local scale. So the complexity luckily didn't grow here.
Right, right. Okay, so what else I think the pandemic has forced us all to do is to adopt this remote work culture in some countries more than the other. But I think is any of us at the office at the moment? Michal, are you at the office?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, I guess you're the only person. So yeah, question for everyone then: did you have to adopt this remote working culture, and how did it go for you? And did it also enable you to go beyond CE for in your hunt for talent? And did you actually need to go beyond CE? So a really long question, but basically sort of one thing. Heidi, if we can start with you this time.
So in a way, it hasn't changed dramatically the way we are used to work. So all our team kind of had this semi-home office work already prior to COVID. But obviously, we had those days that we all came together, and those we today can't have. So that does impact. However, Estonians love snow, so we sometimes do meet outside. And but jokes aside, so what we probably see more is the meetings with partners, and that part has really scaled down, and also different events. But all in all, I think there has been lots of good things, especially if you want to work exactly across Europe, and people from UK or wherever are at home. They don't commute, so that they have more time. They have more time to meet you and talk with you. And I think this has kind of benefited all of us in a team as well, that we kind of have found some easier ways to approach some other people outside, but all in all, same.
Right. Yeah, it's like, how is remote working going in your company?
I've been working more or less remotely since probably 2012, so I'm a veteran, and I think the world is finally catching up with the startup world. So I don't think it's been a revolution for startups. It's definitely been a revolution for our corporate customers, and like Heidi said, we wouldn't be able to host 4 important meetings with 4 important corporate customers in a day, because normally would have to go there, sometimes travel there, and just one customer would eat out the entire day with commute, right? So there are benefits. But to make things a little bit more funny, after all these years of working remotely, I returned to office during the pandemic, because I just started appreciating it's the first time I have office in my hometown since like 4 years. And with the small kid at home, I really appreciate the flexibility. So I think this is important, is that not everyone has the right environment to work at home. Not always. I'm at home right now because I'm on quarantine, and normally I would also be in the office. So I think the flexibility is great, and sort of taking the best of both worlds. So yes, we're hiring our team is distributed, but the core team is still in Białystok, and they work together and they enjoy it, right? And I probably wouldn't want to change this.
Right, Michal, you're the head of R&D for Early. So how is that part going with having to work remotely for at least some part, that is?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, R&D part in Early is something that we cannot do remotely. However, some of the work can be done remotely, and in our team we shifted to this approach that we meet maybe 1 or 2 days a week to discuss some stuff and to work with equipment, because equipment is something that you cannot share with your employees. Usually it's very expensive equipment, and personally, I wouldn't take it into my car and take it home every couple of days. So we have to go to the office. However, the other part of our company, other employees, are able to work remotely. So before the pandemic, we started to hire people from outside of Krakow, because we are based in Poland, in Krakow. Mm-hmm. But we started to do it, and when pandemic came, we it somehow make this hiring even faster. So we are hiring from people from UK, from the US, Romania, and many countries, and it became very very good for us. We now can have bigger pool of candidates, talents, and this is a good example of pandemic speeding up things. We hire more people from abroad. Yeah, and I would say it's helped us quite a lot.
Right. Okay, so we are getting towards the end of the time that we were allocated in today's panel, so I have to choose one of all the questions that I have had prepared. And I wanted to address the access to capital in the CEE region. So 2 out of 3 startups on this panel have announced already raising funding. So, and both Cache and Airly raised money from outside of the CEE region. So my question would be, is it something that you consciously decided on, or is it just sort of marketplace and you just chose whatever suited you best? What was the story behind this, and what do you think in general about the access to capital in the CEE region? Hedy, go ahead, please.
So I think in that case, we were probably slightly more known to the Nordic and also UK investors. So we had after Techstars London, we had quite a good inbound. We did have also a couple of VCs approaching us from CE, but not that many. Mm-hmm. But why we, the difference what I can bring out was that I think the kind of somewhat the approach was a bit different. So if we what we noticed from the Nordic and the UK VCs, it was very strong as we were raising seed round last summer. It was very strongly the kind of founder focus. I think more from the CE VCs that we met, they had a very strong focus on on trying to really value the product and the current as is. So maybe that's the only difference I can bring really out. But yeah, otherwise good experience with both.
Michal, is that your experience as well?
Yeah, to say about our current round, I have to mention the previous one.
Sure.
Last year we were raising a round from Polish VCs, and it was extremely hard to raise a round in Poland. Investors tend to look in Poland on Excel sheets, and they do not think perspectively. So just they want to invest quick and earn money very quick. So that's not what startups tend to do, especially when you have to go globally to become a very big player. And luckily, we partnered with Giant. It's VC from UK. And after that, we raised another round, and it was much easier than the previous one. We just raised a round abroad, and we spent on it maybe 2 months. And previously, it was more than half of a year. So it's better to raise a round abroad. But I would say VCs from abroad have to have some kind of proof that you're investable by other VCs from abroad. So it's kind of a loop. If you're not able to break it, then you are stuck. And luckily we broke it, and it was much easier this time.
Right. So, I mean, I believe we are identifying an improvement point right here for the ecosystem. And Jacek, I understand that Unifera is part of Tenderhut, but are you actually going to be looking for funding separately? And are you going to be looking internally or externally in terms of the region?
We're in talks right now, and so also if any interested investors are listening to us, the window is still open. Excel looks pretty good, I'd say. We're looking both in Poland and internationally. We might do what Michal mentioned, so raising first round in Poland from a mix of investors. I do see a bigger value in international investors simply because they can support scaling, right? And with their network and the experience, and again, what Michał said, validating the investment for other investors, right? So that's the benefit. But I wouldn't say it's very difficult to raise money in Poland. I think there's plenty capital in Poland. It's more a question on what terms, right? And that's the tricky bit.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so this is all the time that we have been allowed to use today for this panel discussion. Thank you so much,